Deep beneath the scorched, shifting dunes of modern-day Iraq, a silence persists, a silence that has endured for 5 millennia. It is rough, cool to the touch, and etched with the jagged, rhythmic incisions of cuneiform. To the uninitiated, it is merely debris from a long-dead civilization. A key to a door that humanity has been trying to lock for generations. Yet, these tablets whisper of a different origin. They speak of kings who reigned for tens of thousands of years, of celestial visitors who descended from the firmament to shape the destiny of the first cities, and of a catastrophe that nearly erased the collective memory of our species. The allure of this forbidden knowledge is intoxicating. Across the digital landscape, whispers of hidden archives and suppressed chronologies have ignited a firestorm of speculation. While the information in this video is rooted in rigorous historical research, the interpretation of these ancient texts remains a battleground. Interpretations vary, and the line between established academic consensus and the fringes of human imagination is often blurrier than we dare to admit. We find ourselves standing on the precipice of a vast, intellectual chasm. The mystery does not lie in the clay itself, but in why we are so desperate to believe that something profound, has been kept from us. The sun sets over the ruins of Nippur, casting long, jagged shadows across the landscape. It is time to peel back the layers of dust, to separate the verified records of the past from the seductive myths of the present, and to look, with unblinking eyes, at the clay libraries that refuse to stay buried. Let us begin. Between the Tigris and the Euphrates, the earth did not merely sustain life, it demanded invention. Here, in the sweltering heat of southern Mesopotamia, the Sumerians did not just settle, they engineered the very blueprint of human existence.
Yurak, Eridu, Ur.
These were not mere clusters of huts, but sprawling urban engines anchored by towering ziggurats that scraped the sky. This was the birth of the accounting mind. Out of this administrative pressure emerged cuneiform. What started as a ledger for trade evolved into the world's first literature. They pressed these marks into damp clay, then baked them under the relentless desert sun, unknowingly creating a medium that would outlast empires, stone monuments, and dynasties. They mapped the stars, divided time into the base 60 system we still use to measure every passing second of our lives, and codified laws that would govern the shadows of kings. Why, in a land so prone to the ravages of war and the erosion of time, did they obsessively archive their history? The geography of the cradle was a trap of shifting borders and constant conquest, yet the clay survived where the flesh failed. We are not just looking at scraps of writing, we are staring into a meticulously constructed mirror. There is a strangeness in the narrative, a deviation from the expected path of human development that suggests we have been misreading the map for generations. The transition from survival to civilization was too sudden, too precise, and far too deliberate. And the lock is finally beginning to turn. Beneath the scorched, shifting dunes of modern-day Iraq, the earth held its breath for millennia. Archaeologists, armed with little more than shovels and a relentless curiosity, tunneled into the mound of Kuyunjik, expecting to find the ruins of Nineveh. Tens of thousands of clay fragments emerged from the dark, cold soil. These were not mere trinkets, they were the intellectual backbone of an empire. The Epic of Gilgamesh, a narrative thought to be a mythic invention, was suddenly tangible, etched into damp clay by scribes who lived in the shadow of the dawn of history. Scholars like Henry Rawlinson faced a labyrinth of cuneiform wedges, a script that had been dead for 2,000 years. It required a rigorous, almost surgical reconstruction of language. As the translations bloomed, the world recoiled. These tablets revealed the Sumerian king lists, a document that defied conventional logic. It catalogued rulers who supposedly reigned for tens of thousands of years, bridging the gap between the divine and the mortal. We are not looking at a primitive society finding its footing. The archives were not merely records, they were a legacy, curated with the intent to survive the collapse of civilizations. As we reassemble these clay voices, a pattern emerges from the rubble. The vault is wide open now, and the light hitting these tablets reveals a history that was never meant to be forgotten. The deeper we dig, the more the answers begin to feel like a warning. The silence of the clay is finally broken. When the Sumerians first pressed a reed stylus into soft earth, they weren't just recording grain tallies or temple offerings. They were inventing the architecture of human thought. Governance shifted from a local shout to a systemic decree, binding the king to the citizen through the cold, hard logic of the tablet. This was the birth of the administrative state, a mechanism that allowed trade to flourish across vast distances, turning the chaotic barter of nomadic tribes into the complex, interconnected markets of the Bronze Age. Myths that once drifted like smoke through the campfire were now etched in stone, granting priests and monarchs the power to dictate the narrative of existence. They created a history that could outlive them, a legacy written in a language that refused to decay. But here lies the unsettling truth. We're still living inside the blueprint they drafted 5,000 years ago. We have traded the clay for silicon, yet the intent remains identical, to impose order upon a universe that offers none. Perhaps these tablets were kept in the shadows not because they were dangerous, but because they hold a mirror to our own vanity. We are the inheritors of a script that was designed to make us feel permanent, even as the civilizations that birthed it turned back into dust. As you look at these artifacts, recognize that you aren't just observing a relic of a dead kingdom. You are looking at the foundational code of our own reality, a system that shaped the world you occupy today. The archive is open, but the questions remain. We have been reading their story for centuries, but have we actually learned to read ourselves? There are still many chapters of the human story left in the dark, waiting for the right light to find them.